Yep. Welcome back. Packing more into the stream of life. I've never been to Fort Bragg before. Nothing to brag about. And I had the opportunity yesterday to go up and look at a used car up in Fort Bragg. And to me, Fort Bragg was kind of Fort Bragg, Ukiah, Eureka, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. They're all the same thing. They're just way, way, way up there. And I never go up there. But it occurred to me that I should see the Northern California coast at some point in my life, given that I've lived in Northern California. I mean, like up there, have a look. And so rented a car, drove up there. And what I was realizing as I was going over hill and dale is how different the scenery was than what I expected. The road from 101 that crossed over to the coast. I had a thought of what it might look like, but it had switchbacks and incredible rises and falls, and then verdant valleys that were brought tears to my eyes. And there was what appeared to be a literal rainforest of redwoods that were so tall and so closely packed together that no light got to the bottom of the forest. It was stunning, and I had never seen. These were things that I'd never seen. Yesterday, my retinas, my eyeballs were opened to views that I'd never seen as I kind of made the transition from Highway 128 onto Highway 1. Like, oh, is that the Pacific Ocean? Whoa, wow, that's big. And I've seen the Pacific Ocean before, but I've never seen it from that angle, and the dramatic cliffs and the rocks and the waves crashing and the et cetera. There were signs that said entering in tsunami warning area. So I was on guard against tsunamis as I was rounding corners. You never know. And what's my point? There it is. The point is, there's always things we haven't seen and we don't know yet. And there's so many different ways to think about God. Wouldn't you agree? There's so many different, everything from there isn't a God. That's one way to think about God, all the way up to a variety of ways to think about it. You have your way of thinking about it, I have mine, but we all have these different angles on it. Everything, well, you name it. Now, it seems to me as though there might be ways of thinking about God, love, source, infinite, higher, organizing, creative force of the universe that would be closer to the truth, and some ideas that would be further from the truth. And the closer we get to whatever the truth is, with a capital T, our nearness to the truth would more and more transform our lives. If we were further from the truth, say we imagine God as a very big man in the sky, about 78 years old, roughly, big white beard, kind of stern taskmaster kind of guy, throwing lightning bolts. Certainly, feel free to think about God that way. But there seems to be, to me, and I don't mean to judge, I really don't. It seems to me there are certain limitations to think that God is afar off and is a human and has some of the vagaries and vicissitudes of human personality. So yesterday, as I was driving on the road, seeing all these new visions, it occurred to me that if God is consciousness, God is all of consciousness, meaning God is all of my consciousness, all of your consciousness, all of everyone's consciousness everywhere. In other words, consciousness is connected. It's not what's hidden inside of my brain is disconnected from what's hidden inside of your brain. And we're just little bits of consciousness that never connect. So I think, and you can think about what you think about this, is that consciousness, God, is much more like a field of consciousness. And each and every one of us is a dollop, if you will, a portion of that consciousness. And as such, God being all consciousness, God is conscious. God is everything that I'm conscious of and everything that I'm not conscious of in this gigantic field of consciousness. And what seems encouraging and glorious and breathtaking and astonishing and beautiful beyond measure to me is that as a point of consciousness within God's infinite consciousness, my consciousness and awareness can continuously grow within that field. And there's no limit to how much it can grow, as long as I'm willing to grow, as long as I'm interested in it. There also seems to be, on the other hand, a cautionary tale. There seems to be almost no limit to how much my consciousness can shrink within this infinite field. In other words, it's as if a camera aperture were narrowing down. And there have been times in my life, based on certain ways of thinking, behaving, or things that have happened to me, where my consciousness shrunk down very small. And even though infinite consciousness was available, I was shrinking it down to a very small dollop. But there's a point at which, when our spiritual child is born with it in us, as I said yesterday, that if we nurture that consciousness, if we nourish it, let it grow, let it strengthen, that our baby will grow up and our consciousness will continue to grow within infinite consciousness. Then we'll gain access to insights, powers, faculties, knowledge that are really far beyond our human comprehension, but they're in our future. It's nice to know that's in the future, but what we can know today, whatever size our consciousness is today, we can commit to growing it, to being open-minded, to being willing, to being humble, to remembering that my consciousness is not all of consciousness, as tempting as it might be to think that sometimes. Anyway, I wonder what you think about that. Leave me a comment, send me a text. Have a beautiful day, and congratulations on being a dollop of consciousness in infinite consciousness. See you next time.